Trying to keep this fire burning inside my heart and in my mind. Each day we're sharing things you can see deep in my eyes that I am so ready to fight. The strange reflections when I was a child, it always happened alone in my room. There are many shadows dancing all around me. Away from this world is the freedom, is there a paradise? I don't wanna go, I'm the rattle, trying to find the answer. Will you help me? Please answer my questions, tell me, why do I feel like I'm fading? Sleeping forever is not for me. Alone in my room, I have decided to break through every wall and take all the good we both in my room. Maybe not forever, but will you spend some time with me? Find the answer, will you help me? Please answer my questions, tell me, why do I feel like I'm fading? Sleeping forever is not for me. Tears are still falling, people are dying so easily around me. Why is this life so weak? Since you were born, that's what's thrown at you. When the seal or try to peel. Find the answer, will you help me? Please answer my questions, tell me.
Hello everyone, this is Laurie Smith on Spreaker. Glad to be back, and haven't been here for a while, and I don't have too much space left. I'm on a free program here, so I only have a few hours left of shows, so I just do them when I really feel the need really to come on and speak about child abuse prevention, and the issues surrounding child abuse. And that's a song called Alone by XY. I really like that band, and we'll play another one of their songs called Promises at the end of the show. So tonight I want to talk about the pain abused children live with, and this is something that I know firsthand all about. This is something that other people that have not been abused may be able to sort of think that they might know what it's like, you know, just because people know what it's like to be hurt. People know, I mean, everybody's been hurt. Everybody knows what it's like to be hurt and be, you know, let down and be, you know, promised things to, and these promises don't come to fruition. You know, it's, everybody knows what it's like to be in pain. I mean, you can't live on this earth and not know these things. But I want to talk about the pain abused children live with. because that's a whole different ball game, really. And it's just another, even further, as far as I'm concerned, deeper kind of pain, because it's something that you can never really ever, it doesn't, you can't fix it, there's no way to fix what happened to me as a child. I speak now as, a person who's approaching 50 years old, and as a young person, I mean, I know what it was like to be young, and I haven't forgot that. I haven't forgot what it was like to be a young child or a teenager, and then a young, 20-year-old, and then moving into my 30s, and I haven't forgotten the struggle and the sheer determination just to stay alive. Has been incredible. It hasn't been really all my own doing. I've had a lot of people who have supported me along the way, and that's probably why I'm still here. But these kids out here, like, we're not talking about just physical pain of being abused, whether it's physical abuse, child sexual abuse. We're not talking about so much just that, even though that's horrible in itself. I had a lot of flashbacks this weekend, and I did a lot of thinking about my past this weekend, and thinking about the reality of what I experienced as a child, and it's painful even just to think about it. But the real pain was done in my heart, and that's the stuff, and in my head too, but mainly my heart, and that's the stuff that just messes with a person. And I think the pain that abused children live with, it's not just if they're being physically abused in some way. The emotional abuse, the psychological abuse that goes along with it is just as devastating, if not more. And I remember feeling completely alone. That's why I chose that song, Alone by XY. And I remember feeling, even though I had people around me that were not my family, but people outside my family who were very supportive toward me, friends and stuff, and some people's parents who were quite supportive. And, I still felt like I didn't belong. And I mean, they even recognized that I was something wrong, something different. I just didn't develop properly in that environment. And I mean, I wrote books about it, A Life of Death or Redemption, and La Vida Juvies, and One Child to Be a Survivor to Another, The Journey, all dealing with different periods of my life and really taking a look at different aspects of the abuse and how it affected me at that time. And it just went on and on and on. And I mean, some children, maybe grow up in a home where, for a while, the first few years of their life, there's no abuse, right? And then all of a sudden, someone moves into the family, maybe the parents divorce, and then there's a new, whether it's a stepmother or stepfather coming in the picture, or maybe somebody's just coming around the house, that's new to the situation, and then the child begins to be abused, and they were looked after very well before that, but then the abuse starts, and then it may end shortly after, or hopefully. That in itself, I wouldn't even know what that's like, because I just grew up abused. So I just grew up listening to my parents fighting, and listening to my parents screaming at all of us, and my parents hurting my brothers mainly, and then me, and each other. And it went on, and on, and on, and on, and on. And I thought about it, and I thought, this weekend I was doing a lot of thinking, and I thought it was incredibly hard to deal with that. To have to try to be normal in a world that really doesn't have any room for children who are being abused. There's no room for us, and nobody wants to deal with it. And the people that are generally are making a mess of it anyway. And it's such a harsh situation. I mean, I'll bless those people for doing what they're doing, but there's just no answer for this. There's no answer, and there's no way to fix it. And this is what breaks my heart, I think, because this is so unacceptable that any child should have to ever feel that any child should have to ever live in that kind of fear and live in that kind of torture and torment, and then grow up and have to deal with trying to be an adult on this planet and trying to make it work with the rules that society say it has to work by. And it's incredibly hard, because we're coming from behind the eight ball. It's not a matter of that, somebody standing over me today saying, oh, you're worthless, you're no good, you're not going to be able to do it, you're not going to make it, you should have been dead, I should have killed you, or whatever. It's not that somebody's standing there today saying that to me, but that's exactly what I hear inside my internal self every day, is that I don't count, I don't match up with everybody else, I don't belong here. I should have been dead. I should have been killed. I should have been murdered. This is the things that I heard growing up. So this is psychologically, the damage is done. I have to then go around and with a broom and a dustpan and start sweeping that stuff up and say, no, that's not true. I do belong here. Sweep that one up, put that in the garbage. I did not deserve to be abused. I was not a bad kid. Okay, sweep that up, throw that in the trash. I have to go around constantly cleaning up after this mess that was created by people who should have done a better job raising me, but this is the thing that these kids will have to go through, and hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. So many won't, and so many of these children out here who've been abused won't get any help, and even if they do, they'll go into some sort of denial, and it'll come out later in their life. At some point it does have to be dealt with, and it took me a long time to deal with this stuff. I was just living and existing, and pretty much by the time I hit 30, kind of ran away at the age of 30. Instead of running away as a young person, I ran away at the age of 30 and decided that I needed to try to make it. And I knew if I stayed where I was at, I was just gonna explode. I just couldn't do it. I had to move on, and it's been a real struggle for almost 20 years to get where I am today. And it's like, I realize where these kids are coming from, these little kids, and it breaks my heart. Because the ones that do survive the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the ones that actually do live and survive, and whether they're removed from the home or whether they just, like myself, just endure it until the end, they're going to have to deal with it for the rest of their entire lives. It's the pain. It's like the pain abused children live with, really, unless you mask it with drugs, or you mask it somehow with your own ability to mask. A lot of times I'll stay really busy so that I don't have to deal with this stuff. I'll get busy for years so that I don't have to deal with it, and it's a good way to avoid. It's avoidance, right? Instead of doing drugs like I used to do when I was before the age of, around 20, 21, I got off the drugs, but I started doing drugs when I was 12. It was a way for me to mask the pain and to escape, get away. And as long as I could get high, as long as I could be high, then on anything that I could get my hands on, then it was good. I could deal with it. I could handle it. And then I decided at the age of 21, 22, really to get off the drugs, because I knew I was headed for an early grave, and I really did want to live. See, that was my inner fight, was always telling me, you do want to live, you don't want to die. I used to say I wanted to die, and I used to hope that I would die, and I used to hope my parents would kill me. I was like, yeah, go ahead, kill me. Whatever, I was dead anyway. That really felt dead. And then when my brother committed suicide, I realized that I really didn't want to die. I was heading down the same path, drug addiction, passing out in gutters and stuff. It was just not a pretty sight. And party, and just party, and, I knew where I was headed. I was doing a lot of drugs and was losing a lot of weight, and was really not looking after myself, and was just headed for that lifestyle that I see so many people living today, even, on the streets. And I just shake my head, because I'm so thankful that I was able to get out of that and get away from that. And it's been hard, because, even this weekend, I sit back and I say, well, how can I get out of this feeling? How can I get out of this pain? I'm still carrying the pain of being abused as a child, and the pain is this internal agony of knowing, you know, that it can never be undone. Right? None of that stuff can ever be undone. And it's not even that I'm just so angry about what my parents did to me or what my sibling did to me mainly, or my other siblings I don't really blame so much, but the three people that were responsible for the real abuse towards me. You know, it's not that I just only think about that. I just think about my whole entire family, like the destruction and the total devastation, really, that was done because my parents would not get help. And they had the opportunity to get help and didn't get help. I talked about that quite a bit on my last shows here. And, you know, I sit there and I think, this is the pain of, you know, knowing, like, you know, I have no roots. I have no grounding. Like, where do I belong? You know, this is the issue with a lot of children who are abused. Like, where do you belong? You know, where do I belong? Like, I have no roots. There's no family that I can go and just be a part of, you know. I am alone, really. And my husband's terminally ill, you know, and he's dying. And I mean, I may die before him, but he's still around. He's been here for diagnosed terminally ill 14 years ago, but that is by the grace of God that he's still here. And I think about that and I'm like, yeah, you know, when he goes, I mean, he's my family, right? And I have a lot of friends who I consider family. But this is the abuse. This is the problem with abuse is, you know, people often feel alone even when they're in a family situation because they really are sort of something separates you, you know. It's that fine line of what's behind those eyes, you know. The stuff that I've seen, the things that I've seen, the pain that I've been involved in is unreal. And the things that I did because I was being abused, the things that I turned around and did, and you know, because of the abuse that I did to myself, that I did to other people, you know, just stays with you. It's not a guilt complex. I mean, these things happen because I was brought up the way I was brought up, and I was really trained to be a certain way. But what it did was, you know, for me, produced a fighter in me instead of the other way around. So, you know, instead of being a person who's just afraid of everything and just in the corner, you know, shaking all the time, I'm actually a fighter and I don't give up. And that's why I'm still here. One of the reasons, probably. But the issue is like, this stuff just doesn't go away. You know, people have no idea, you know, what's behind these eyes, right? And when you look at an abused child, I mean, nobody wants to put themselves in that place, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them. I mean, who wants to experience that pain? Who wants to experience what that is? To know what that is, you know, because that's not so much talked about very much. I mean, people talk about the needs, especially, you know, we're talking food, shelter, the basic needs of life. And I mean, that's mainly what people are interested in. They're not thinking about the fact that that child is going to have to grow up and learn how to navigate and be an adult, and all in the background, in the back of their mind, knowing evil, you know, knowing what it is to be around it, to be a part of it. Because to me, it's evil. It's completely evil. And it's a harsh reality for so many people. I mean, you think about the millions and millions and millions and billions of people who have been abused in some way by someone on this planet as children or youth, you know. And it's a sad, sad world. Because, I mean, I sit there and I think, yeah, you know, it's, how do you know, I can't change who I am. I can't change what happened to me. So I did a whole series of shows actually on that, on Blog Talk Radio, talking about the fact that really the only way I was able to deal with this thing was just to change the way that I looked at it, you know, because I was coming from a place of such pain. April of 2007, I would say, right in there somewhere, and I just couldn't take it anymore, and I had been contemplating suicide for years, and my parents were suicidal, and 2 of my siblings killed themselves, which I talk about all the time, but I want to bring it out so that people understand and realize that this stuff does run in families sometimes, and people don't understand how hard it is. You know what I mean? Like, my parents were both suicidal and were always talking about killing each other, killing themselves, killing us, and then killing themselves, or killing themselves on their own. It was always, murder, 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 kill, 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 and that's why I called my book A Life of Death, The Redemption. Because it really was a life of death. And they taught us, how to hate, right? And that's a bad way to be. See, people have no idea. People who have not been in that type of situation, they wouldn't understand what that's like to have to be brought up in a way that would teach you to hate yourself, to hate life, to hate God, to hate everybody. And it's so bad. Like, when you get to the end and you're 16, 17 years old and you're sitting on the street and you don't care if you die, I mean, you just don't care if you overdose, or that was me. I didn't care. I used to do a lot of drugs, and I mean, I wasn't necessarily trying to overdose, but I used to think in the back of my mind when I was really high and couldn't hardly come down, and I'd be like, I don't care if I die or not. I really don't, because I'm dead. There's nothing left. I thought at that time that they had taken it all, and even though I had some really kind people in my life before that, a few years before, who had been really helpful to me and trying to help me out, and I, with a lot of compassion and a lot of care, had said some words to me that at the time didn't seem to make any difference. But I continued to struggle and to sort of slide downward, and even though I felt like I had to sort of try to stick it out, I just didn't care anymore about myself. And so I ended up, like I said, just partying and passing out in driveways and in gutters. And so it took me to the edge, and I didn't try to commit suicide. And I have to say, I never did attempt it, but I contemplated it all the time, and it was really depressing, because I was always thinking, how am I going to do this? And I still do. I still think about that all the time, actually. And what keeps me here is my fight to win the battle. Because as long as I stay alive and I don't hurt myself, and I try to do the best that I can to live a good and decent life, and to I've seen a lot of my dreams come true, which over the years, which has just been amazing, and to help other people, and to just live a normal life, and to be a voice for people who are survivors of abuse, and to stop child abuse, be another voice out here. As long as I can do that, then to me, I win. See, I win. It's my victory. The battle is won, and I win, because my brothers lost, because they let my parents kill them, basically, is what they did. I mean, it took a long time. Like, my brother killed himself at the age of 30. He was 33. I was 20, and he was 33. And so at the age of 33, he killed himself. He hung himself, and he had tried to kill himself before, many times, actually, cutting his wrists and things like that. But he finally made it, hung himself, and killed himself at the age of 33. And I just thought, my parents won. They won that fight over him. They won the battle, because they destroyed him. And my brother then, a few years later, another brother of mine, well, actually several years later, 9 years later, I'd say, or 8 years later, somewhere in there, he died of a drug overdose in a shelter. But he was always overdosing and always trying to take himself out with pills, and so he was ready to go. He just gave up, And my brother, these guys grew up in my home. See, they grew up in the same home I did. I was this cute little kid. I thought I was cute, and I mean, I was just this little kid, and I was forced to endure the wrath of evil, and which caused my siblings to be evil, and one of my siblings then in turn abused me sexually. And it's, a harsh thing, right, to sit back and know that, that your abusers actually won. So see, for me, I win, because my abusers could not kill me. They could not do it. They tried to kill me. They tried to take me out. My mom used to tell me, you never should have been born. I should have killed you when you were a baby, and stuff like that. And she used to tell me that all the time. It wasn't like a one-time thing. And she would say stuff like, you didn't deserve to live. I should have just let you rot in your diapers. And she would call me names, which I'm not going to say here on the show. And, all the time beating me and slapping me around and throwing me into walls and stuff. And, after a while, I started to become that. See, I started to become the unborn. I started to become the one who wasn't really here, and the one who didn't deserve to be here, see. And for a long, long time, that's how I felt. And then I started to just realize, no, I can do this, I can do this. And then at the age of 42, sitting on the couch ready to kill myself again, April 2007, I made a decision. I made a clear decision that night because I got so tired of it. I was so sick and tired of it. It was like, either just kill yourself or move on. Do something. I couldn't even breathe anymore. I was so sick and so tired of this garbage and this pain that my parents had put on me and a sibling. And I just wanted out, and I thought, who's going to win if I do that? That means my parents win. And I mean, for mainly, that's who wins this fight then, if I do this. And I thought, no way am I going to let them win. I'm winning. And it's just, for me, it's like the hugest victory, right? Like the hugest victory, because I don't hurt myself. I don't do drugs. I don't plan on killing myself. I'm living like a pretty decent life, even though I'm really broke and slightly going to be homeless here shortly. But it doesn't matter to me. I got my life. They couldn't take it from me. They couldn't take it away. And this is the stuff. This is the pain that abused children live with. This is the pain, right? And I just pray to God that they get some help. I really do. That find something inside them. I don't trust people, so I never went to any counselors or anything like that. I really don't trust anybody. But, I mean, hey, there are good people out there. I know for a fact because I've met so many good people, actually. And, I don't know. Yeah. I just rely on my inner strength to say, you know what? Do not ever, ever, ever give up. Not ever. It's not an option. And for me, that's what I said. I am not going to let my parents win. No, I win because, and I've said this many times on Blog Talk Radio, I win because I stay alive, and it's like a slap in their face. Every time I think about it, every time they see, my dad's still living. He doesn't see me anymore because I cut him off. But the thing is he every time he thinks about me, I win. The battle, the victory is mine. They thought they had got me, and they were happy about it. They were happy about it. They probably did like the victory shout, like they did when they were beating on us. And it's like, no, I win this fight, and I'm happy, and I hope that others will hold on and do whatever it takes to get some help and make it through another day. God bless you all. Talk to you soon.
That report says that a small team of terrorists could turn farm into
but it was long ago, and now it changes mind. They're gonna fall, they're gonna pay, they're gonna strike, but they're gonna pay.
I never